So this is primary sources data that I'm going to present to you. If you read Emily's really good piece on the recent Common Core data, or Greg's actually, Topo, and a couple of others of you have written about it as well. We released this information just at the beginning of October. It's an update on the primary sources survey that we do every 2 years, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I will say, however, this update version was funded by Scholastic because it was our desire to figure out what was happening 1 year later with the teachers who we had surveyed. So just a little background on this. We started this survey back in 2009. We had 40,000 teachers. We think it's probably the largest ever survey of America's teachers, trying to get the temperature of what was going on. We came back 2 years later. We did another one focusing on a little bit more personal side of teaching, and then we came back in 2013, July of 2013, and we focused very heavily on Common Core, teacher evaluations, and technology and tools that teachers were using, as well as getting a little bit of that teacher love aspect in there, which we always try to capture, sort of why they teach and what it means to them. So this version that I'm showing you, the Common Core data today, was a reconnect. Normally we use MDR's database. It's a blind survey. They don't know it's Scholastic. They don't know it's the Gates Foundation. But this one, we went back to the very same 20,000 teachers who had responded in July of 2013, and we asked them the same questions plus a few additional ones to see how they had moved over the course of a year. 1,676 pre-K to grade 12 public school teachers responded, which was pretty good. I apologize to anyone from Delaware. We didn't get any respondents from Delaware, so you're not represented here. And also not represented are Alaska, Indiana, Nebraska, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia because they're not implementing the Common Core. This is the reason that the Gates Foundation and Scholastic decided to do this, is really to bring the voices of teachers into the conversation around education reform. Clearly you can see they feel like they're heard in their schools, a few in their districts, and nobody at the state and nobody at the national level. So where are we on Common Core? When we did this in 2013, 46% of teachers said that they were underway and mostly complete or fully complete. This year, 65%. So it's moving along. I would say this indicates that Common Core is here, and it's happening, and teachers are implementing it. We also saw that more teachers know that it's challenging than in the past. 73% last year thought it was challenging, 81% this year. At the same time, more teachers feel prepared. So something is happening out there to make them feel like they're getting up to speed. 71% before were somewhat or very prepared. This time, 79%. Do they? Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. This one, yeah. That they think that the implementation is going well in their school. This surprised us a little bit. That 68% said yes, they agreed it was going well in their school, versus 62% before. I was a little surprised by that because of mainly what I had been hearing about the challenges of implementation, but the teachers still feel like they're making progress. Interestingly, we saw this all the way through, and that arrow at the bottom indicates the amount of time teachers have spent with the Common Core. So the first column there is in its early stages, the next one is underway and mostly complete, the next is fully complete in the 13-14 school year, and the next is fully complete the year before that. And the longer teachers are spending with the Common Core, the more they agree it's going well in their school. And you'll see this trend in several of the data points on questions that we asked. Enthusiasm, however, has gone down. My guess is that last time the number of teachers who said it was challenging and the number of teachers who said they were enthusiastic was almost identical. This time, challenge is up, enthusiasm's down. That's my take. You might have another theory. Again, enthusiasm goes up with the amount of time that you've spent implementing the course. So if it's new to you, you're not as enthusiastic as if you've been doing it for 2 years. We did add this question in, which was a new question, because we wanted to see if teachers were actually seeing any changes in their students in the classroom, and we did. Half of teachers said they saw improvement in critical thinking and reasoning. They saw improvement in effectively presenting ideas based on evidence. They saw improvement in the ability to read and comprehend informational texts. which was great. The negative was very, very small. The rest of the teachers said they hadn't seen any change yet. In elementary school, a lot more than in high school. That's what we were just talking about. And we did see a big change here. We obviously, before we put this data out, I go talk to a whole lot of teachers and show it to them and ask them if they think we're right. And what I heard on this were two reasons. First of all, the elementary teachers, of course, they're getting them at the beginning, and they get to start it from there and go forward. So the middle and high school teachers are saying, you know, how do you expect our kids to do this? They haven't ever done this before. They've got all these years of schooling under different techniques, and we can't start that right now. The other thing I heard, particularly in high school, was that the teachers are far more content focused. They've got a lot of content that they want their students to understand, and they're not so focused on the skill set. So the Common Core is really not dictating to them what content they do, but it is dictating what skills they need to acquire, and that's where the disconnect is between the elementary and high school. Again, teachers who have been in it longer say that they're seeing more positive changes than the teachers who have not been in it as long. So the green column on the left is early stages. The sort of cream-colored column on the right of those is fully complete 2 years ago. So what are the challenges and problems? This was something we asked this year, which was a new question. They were given a list of choices, which the choices that they had were based on focus groups we did before we started this to figure out what challenges were. And right at the top of the list, which you're going to hear next, is about teacher evaluations. Almost 60% of the teachers said the biggest impediment to implementing is having those teachers' evaluations tied to the test so soon. Uncertainty about what assessments they're going to use, and also uncertainty about the future of Common Core in their state is also really considered problematic by teachers. Again, as you go down a little bit, the grade level appropriateness, I think, is still going to get looked at a lot between math and ELA. I think there'll be some adjustments to it, so they're still concerned about that. And you'll be not too surprised to see mainstream media reporting came in. Almost 3 in 10 teachers said that that's problematic for them. And I think what we heard was that so much negativity about Common Core that they're hearing in the press is getting to their parents, and the parent problem becomes exacerbated. So a little bit on that evaluations piece. This is from the 2013 data. We didn't ask new questions in 2014 about the evaluations, but I thought it might be helpful to see this just as setup. The teachers who said that their evaluations were most helpful were definitely evaluated on more than just 2 components. The teachers told us consistently they wanted more than just a test score and a drop-in observation to be evaluated. And those included a lot peer evaluations, and student evaluations were the highest on what the teachers were looking for. They also said that they wanted more helpful feedback, and they wanted the process to be more fair, and evaluators who are better qualified. A big call for evaluation from peers and other teachers, more than administrators who've never been in the classroom. This is an eye test for those of you who are in the back. We asked what they still needed, and at the very top of the list in 2013 and once again in 2014, Common Core aligned instructional materials. They're not getting what they need. They also want more PD. And then, you can go down the list, they still need a lot of everything, but they need instructional materials and they need PD. And in those 2 items are netted items. So the instructional included Common Core aligned age-appropriate leveled instructional materials, which was also the top thing last year, aligned high-interest instructional materials, and apps, software programs, and digital content. And then on the PD side, they want PD on development of the content of the standards itself. They want it on how to embed the Common Core across subject areas, which is really important, and quality professional development on the instructional shifts that they need to put in place. So interestingly, we saw that a lot of teachers are really intrepidly going after this stuff on their own. The next several charts will show you. This is the instructional materials. They're really out there digging themselves. And I can tell you from being at Scholastic, we have a Common Core website, and I get 10 to 15 questions from teachers every single day. Last year, the questions were all about what's in the standards and how do I understand it. This year, it's all about, can you steer me to something I can use to teach this concept in 3rd grade math? I mean, they're very specific, and they just don't have the materials they need, so they're coming to us to say, what have you got? What's on the website? It's both to buy and to find free, and we try to steer them to the right places. On PD, they're getting that from their district. So this might be something interesting, I think, to look at in your schools, is to see, you know, where are the teachers getting their materials from? Is the district really providing it or not? And then on the PD side, what's their PD look like so far? Again, this is you know, these are more examples of teachers going after all of these different things themselves, all the materials, all the kind of instructional tools that they need in order to implement the core. And then on the PD side, or I'm sorry, this is what they actually are getting from their district a little bit more, is a full curriculum. If in the school districts where that's happening, their school leaders, the information on the assessments, and also technology. And then they get information about the standards from pretty much from professional sources. You might be interested to see in here, though, there's quite a big jump in teachers getting information about the standards from the news media, teachers union, and social media. So, will the Common Core standards be positive for most students? This went down. So I was really surprised to see that, because I saw the enthusiasm and I saw that implementation's going well. Why? What I heard from teachers when we went and asked this question, and I really probed with them, is with this question, is it going to be positive or negative for most students? Students are so focused on their grades and on what's happening on those assessments that if their assessments are going down and their grades are going down, that's not positive for them, and it's hurting their self-esteem, and it's frustrating to them, and they're not seeing that as positive for most students. That's what I heard a lot of. I'd love to know if you hear something different than that, but I think this is something in the next survey we're going to probe quite deeply on to see if we can't get a little bit more information on it. Interestingly, the teachers who said that the standards would be positive for most students have been much more involved in planning for the Common Core and in implementing it in their schools, and also in selecting or helping to develop instructional materials than the teachers who said it was going to be negative for most students. I'm not sure what that means, beyond that it was an interesting little piece of information. Maybe it might be part of this if you're deeper in it. You know, you think it's going to be positive for most students than if you're a little bit more removed. They're still concerned about their students who are 2 or more grade levels below their grade. This was exactly the same thing we saw in the 2013 survey. Also special ed, and also their second language learners. And then I just thought I'd throw in a little bit of the teacher love piece at the end here to let you see why teachers teach. You know, this was from 2013. And all of the data from 2013 is available by state. So if you have not tapped into the Primary Sources website, I invite you to. Every state except Wyoming and Alaska and the District of Columbia, because their samples were too small. But every other state is represented, and all the data that we had from the July 2013 survey is available by your state. So just to end it, they don't want summers off. They really want to make a difference in kids' lives. So I left a few questions for you to think about based on these. I don't know if they're of interest to you, but if they are, I'd be happy to help you dig into the data. If anybody wants any additional analysis of the data by your state, certainly for the 2013 information, which is very, very rich on teacher evaluations, please feel free to let me know, because I can always go back in and pull something if you're not finding what you want. Yep, all yours.